My girlfriend held me underwater during a game, and I'm starting to think this isn't normal. I'm honestly not sure if I'm overreacting or if this is as messed up as it feels. My girlfriend Lena and I have been together for about 14 months now, and she's always been super competitive about everything. Like, everything becomes a competition with her. At first I thought it was cute. She's really athletic, does CrossFit and rock climbing, and I figured her competitive nature was just part of what made her successful at sports. I'm not exactly built like her. I'm pretty average-sized and I have a mild heart condition that I've had since I was a kid. Nothing super serious, but my heart rate can spike pretty easily, and I have to be careful not to overexert myself. Lena knows about my heart thing. I told her early on when we started dating and she seemed understanding at the time. But lately these competitions have been getting weirder. Like, she'll time how long I can hold my breath, or see who can stay in a cold shower longer, or who can handle spicy food better. She always has to win, and when she does, she gets this look in her eyes that's hard to describe. Almost like satisfaction, but not the good kind. What happened 3 nights ago is what's really messing with my head. We were taking a bath together, which we do sometimes to relax. The tub in my apartment is pretty big, so we both fit okay. We were just chilling, talking about our day, and out of nowhere she went, "I wonder who could hold the other person underwater longer." I laughed because I thought she was just being random. I should have paid attention to the warning bells going off in my head, but honestly I was relaxed and didn't think she was serious. I was like, "Babe, that's kind of a weird thing to wonder about." And she just shrugged and said something about wanting to test our limits. Then maybe 5 minutes later, when I was completely zoned out looking at my phone, she suddenly grabbed my shoulders and pushed me down under the water. Not playfully, like forcefully. My head went completely under and she was holding me down with both hands on my shoulders, pressing down hard. I panicked immediately. Not just because I couldn't breathe, but because my heart started racing like crazy. When I have episodes, it feels like my heart is going to pound right out of my chest, and being underwater while panicking made it so much worse. I started thrashing around, trying to get her hands off my shoulders so I could come up for air. She's strong, and for what felt like forever she just kept holding me down. When she finally let me up, I came out of the water gasping and coughing like crazy. My heart was still racing and I felt dizzy. I was so disoriented that it took me a few seconds to even realize what had just happened. When I looked at her, she was just sitting there with this weird smile like she'd just won something. "What the hell was that?" I managed to get out between coughs. I was legitimately scared, not just of what had happened, but of how calm she looked about it. She shrugged and said, "Just testing your reflexes. You lasted about 20 seconds, which isn't bad." Then she had the nerve to act like I was being dramatic when I told her that wasn't okay. "It was just a game, Noah. I wasn't actually going to hurt you." But here's the thing, 20 seconds might not sound like long, but when you're not expecting it and you can't breathe and your heart condition is acting up, it feels like forever. When I tried to explain how scared I was and how my heart was racing, she rolled her eyes and said I was being overly sensitive. Then she pointed to these scratches on her wrists where I'd been trying to get her to let go, and she actually got mad at me about them. "Look what you did to my wrists," she said, like I was the one who did something wrong. "I was just trying to help you work on your breath control and self-control, and you freaked out and hurt me. You really need to toughen up and be a real man." She made me feel like I was crazy for being upset about it, like I was the problem for not being able to handle her game. But the more I think about it, the more messed up it seems. Who does that to someone they love? Who holds their boyfriend underwater as a game when they know he has heart problems, and then gets mad when he panics? I've been losing sleep over this. Every time I close my eyes, I can feel her hands on my shoulders pushing me down, and I keep thinking about that look on her face afterward. It wasn't playful or sorry or concerned. It was almost like she enjoyed watching me struggle. I love her, but I'm starting to feel like I can't trust her and I don't know what to do. Edit. Holy crap, I did not expect this many responses. Reading through the comments, and I'm starting to realize this might be worse than I thought. A lot of you are using words like abuse and assault, which honestly never occurred to me, but now that you mention it. Yeah, this wasn't normal. Update 1. Thank you to everyone who commented on my last post. I've been reading every single response, and honestly, it's been eye-opening and terrifying at the same time. I've been staying at Lena's place since the bathtub incident because she convinced me that we needed to work through what happened. But honestly, being around her has felt different. I keep watching her hands when she's near me, and I've been avoiding being too close to her. That's not normal, right? Last night I was lying awake at like 2 a.m., just replaying everything that's happened over the past year, and I remembered Mr. Carter. He used to be my next-door neighbor when I lived with my dad, and he was always really kind to me growing up. He gave me his number when he moved and told me to call if I ever needed anything. He's one of those people who actually means it when they say that. So when morning came and Lena had left for her morning run, I called him. I know how it sounds, but I didn't know who else to talk to. I couldn't call my dad because, well, that's complicated. Mr. Carter picked up on the second ring, and when I told him it was me, he immediately knew something was wrong. I told him about the bathtub thing, and about how Lena had been making everything into these physical challenges, and how she made me feel like I was being weak for being scared. I told him about how she knew about my condition but didn't seem to care. Mr. Carter was quiet for a long time after I finished talking. Then he said, "Noah, I need you to listen to me very carefully. What you just described isn't a game. That's someone testing how much she can hurt you and get away with it." Hearing him say it like that just broke something open in me. I think I'd been holding it in because Lena kept telling me I was overreacting, so I convinced myself I didn't have a right to be upset. "Where are you right now?" he asked. I told him I was at Lena's apartment, and he immediately said, "Is she there?" When I said no, she was at her late-night gym session, he said, "Good, I'm coming to get you." I tried to tell him he didn't need to do that I could handle it, but he cut me off. "Son, I've seen this before. This is how it starts. It will escalate. I'm not going to let that happen to you." He drove over in his pickup truck and helped me pack up my stuff. We didn't take everything, just the important things: my clothes, my documents, my laptop, things that would be hard to replace. The whole time he kept checking his watch and looking at the door, making sure Lena didn't come back while we were there. I felt like such a coward, sneaking out of my girlfriend's apartment. But Mr. Carter kept reminding me that what she did was not okay, and that I had every right to protect myself. When we got back to his house, his wife made me tea and set up their guest room for me. They didn't ask a million questions or make me explain everything again. They just made it clear that I could stay as long as I needed. This morning, Mr. Carter sat me down and said we needed to talk about next steps. He thinks I should tell my family what's going on, especially my dad. I've been avoiding this because my dad has always been kind of critical of me for being too sensitive or not being tough enough. My brother, too. They're both really strong, and sometimes I feel like they think I'm weak for not being more like them. But Mr. Carter thinks I'm wrong about how they'd react. He said, "Noah, your father loves you. He's not going to blame you for being a victim." I'm still nervous about it, but I think he's right. I think I've been so worried about looking weak that I haven't given my family a chance to support me. The other thing we talked about is what to do about Lena. She's been texting me since last night asking where I am. At first the messages were normal, just, "Hey, where'd you go?" type stuff. But this morning they started getting more intense. Stuff like, "We need to talk about this like adults, and you can't just run away from our problems." I'm not responding to her texts for now. Mr. Carter suggested I take some time to think clearly without her influence before I decide how to handle the breakup conversation. He also suggested I might want to document what happened, just in case. I never thought I'd be in a situation like this. Lena was my first serious girlfriend, and I thought we had a good relationship. Looking back now, I can see there were red flags, but when you're in it, it's hard to see clearly. The competitive thing wasn't cute. It was her way of establishing dominance. The physical challenges weren't fun games. They were her testing my boundaries to see what she could get away with. I feel stupid for not seeing it sooner, but Mr. Carter keeps telling me that recognizing the problem and getting out is the hardest part, and that I should be proud of myself for protecting myself. Tonight I'm going to call my dad. I'm scared about how he'll react, but I think Mr. Carter might be right. I really hope so. Thank you again to everyone who commented on my original post. I honestly don't know if I would have realized how serious this was without all of your perspectives. I'll update again after I talk to my family. Edit. For those asking, yes, I'm going to break up with her. I just need to figure out the safest way to do it. Some people are asking about my stuff that's still at her place. Mr. Carter thinks we can get it back, but not alone. He's talking about getting some of his friends to come with us, or maybe having someone else handle it. Update 2. I called my dad yesterday like I said I would. I was really nervous about it because he's always been tough on me about being strong and independent, and I was worried he'd think I was being weak or dramatic about the whole situation. I was so wrong about how he'd react. I started by just saying that Lena and I had broken up and I was staying with Mr. Carter for a while. But my dad immediately knew something was off, and he kept asking questions until I finally just told him everything. My dad was quiet for a really long time after I finished talking. Then he said, in this voice I'd never heard from him before, "That woman put her hands on you and held you underwater against your will. Noah, that's assault. That's a crime." I started crying because hearing my dad, who's always been so tough and no nonsense, validate that what happened was serious made it feel real in a way it hadn't before. He wasn't telling me to toughen up or get over it. He was angry for me. "I'm coming to get you," he said, and I could hear him already moving around. "Dad, you don't have to do that. Mr. Carter is taking good care of me." "I know he is, and I'm grateful to him. But you're my son, and when someone hurts my son, they deal with me." He drove up from Portland, about 2 hours away, and got to Mr. Carter's house by dinner time. The first thing he did was hug me for like 5 minutes straight, and then he shook Mr. Carter's hand and thanked him for looking out for me. Over dinner, he and Mr. Carter talked about what to do next. My dad was especially pissed off that Lena knew about my heart problems and did what she did anyway. We decided that I should stay with my dad for a while, at least until we figure out how to get my stuff back from Lena's place and make sure she's not going to keep trying to contact me. Mr. Carter offered to help coordinate getting my belongings back safely. But before I could leave town, Lena tried something that really showed her true colors. This morning I got a text from Eva, who's been friends with Lena since college. Eva and I have always gotten along fine. We're not close, but she's been around for most of my relationship with Lena and she seemed cool. The text said, "Hey Noah, I have some of your stuff that Lena asked me to return to you. Can you meet me at Grind Coffee on 5th Street at 2 p.m.? I know things are complicated with you guys right now, but I just want to give you your things back." It seemed reasonable enough. Having Eva as a neutral party to return my stuff made sense. I was actually relieved that Lena was being mature about returning my stuff instead of holding it hostage or something. But Mr. Carter had a bad feeling about it. "Something doesn't sit right with me," he said. "If Eva just wanted to return your things, why not drop them off here? Why make you come to a public place?" My dad agreed. "If Lena wanted to respect your space, she'd have someone drop your things off with no strings attached." I thought they were being paranoid, but they convinced me to at least be careful. So I agreed that if I went, Mr. Carter would come with me and wait outside the coffee shop, just in case. When I got to Grind Coffee at 2 p.m., I saw Eva sitting at a table near the window. But as I walked toward the entrance, I saw someone else at the table with her, Lena. They were sitting together and Lena was facing the door like she was watching for me. I stopped dead in my tracks. This wasn't Eva returning my stuff. This was Lena using Eva to lure me into a confrontation. And the look on Lena's face when she saw me. It wasn't sad or apologetic like someone who wanted to work things out. It was determined. Almost predatory. I turned around and walked straight back to Mr. Carter's truck. He took one look at my face and said, "She was in there, wasn't she?" When I nodded, he just put the truck in gear and said, "Good. You trusted your instincts. As we drove away, I could see through the coffee shop window that Lena had gotten up and was looking around, probably trying to figure out where I'd gone. Eva looked confused, like maybe she hadn't known this was a trap either, or maybe she was just a good actor. I don't know. The whole thing really shook me up because it made me realize that Lena isn't going to just let me go quietly. If I had gone in there, who knows what she would have said or done to try to get me to come back. When we got back to Mr. Carter's house, he called his buddy who used to be a cop. His friend confirmed that what Lena did today was a form of harassment. He suggested that if she tries anything else like this, I should consider filing for a restraining order. Mr. Carter also called Lena directly, which surprised me. He told me afterward what he said to her. "This is Noah's friend. He's not interested in meeting with you or talking to you. If you continue trying to contact him or set up situations to see him, we're going to file harassment charges. Leave him alone." Apparently she tried to argue and say she just wanted to talk, but Mr. Carter cut her off. "You had your chance to talk when you were holding him underwater against his will. The conversation is over." Then he hung up. "Tomorrow my dad and I are driving back to Portland. Mr. Carter is going to handle getting my remaining stuff from Lena's place. He's bringing a few friends with him. I gave him my key and a list of what's mine. Honestly, I don't even care that much about the stuff anymore. I just want to be done with this whole situation. Final update. It's been about 3 weeks since my last update, and I wanted to give you all a final update on how everything turned out. First, the practical stuff. Mr. Carter and 2 of his friends went to Lena's apartment last Tuesday to get my remaining belongings. They waited until she was at work. Eva had apparently told someone that Lena would be at the gym until evening, though I'm still not sure whose side Eva is actually on. They got everything on my list plus a few things I'd forgotten about. Mr. Carter said the apartment was weird. Lena had apparently put together a photo collage of us on the kitchen table, with a bunch of printed screenshots of text conversations we'd had. It looked like a shrine, is how he put it. Like she was trying to convince herself or someone else that you guys had this perfect relationship. They also found a notebook where she'd been writing down things about my daily routine. What time I usually got home from work, when I went to the gym, what routes I took to drive places. Mr. Carter's friend, the ex-cop, said that level of monitoring was definitely stalker behavior, and they took pictures of it just in case. But here's the part that really got to me. They also found a list she'd made titled Training Goals for Noah. It had things like build pain tolerance, improve breath control, and reduce emotional sensitivity. There were check marks next to some items and notes about progress and setbacks. When Mr. Carter told me about that, it all finally clicked into place. She had been systematically trying to condition me to accept more and more extreme treatment. That realization was honestly more disturbing than the original incident, because it meant everything about our relationship had been calculated. I wasn't her boyfriend, I was her project. Meanwhile, Lena had been trying other ways to get to me. She called my dad's house twice, both times claiming she just wanted to make sure I was okay and clear up any misunderstandings. My dad shut that down immediately. The second time, my dad told her that if she called again, we'd be filing harassment charges. She also somehow found out where Mr. Carter lives and drove by his house several times. His neighbors noticed the same car passing slowly multiple times and got the license plate number. Mr. Carter called her and told her that if she came by his property again, he'd call the police. But the thing that finally ended it all was that Lena made the mistake of trying to involve my workplace. She called the front desk at my office and told them she was my girlfriend and that I was having a mental health crisis and she was worried about me. She asked them to have me call her because it was an emergency. When my supervisor came to talk to me about it, I had to explain the whole situation to him. My boss was actually really cool about it. He told me if my ex-girlfriend contacted my workplace again, they'd consider it harassment of an employee and would take appropriate action. But I decided it was time to stop playing defense. Lena wasn't accepting that the relationship was over, and she was escalating her attempts to force contact with me. So I finally filed for a restraining order. The process was easier than I expected, partly because I had documented everything. The text messages, the photos of the notebook and list that Mr. Carter had found, the evidence of her driving by his house and calling my workplace. It all painted a clear picture of someone who was harassing and stalking me. The judge granted a temporary restraining order immediately and scheduled a hearing for the following week to make it permanent. Here's where the story gets kind of satisfying in a weird way. Lena apparently didn't take the restraining order seriously. 2 days after she was served with the papers, she showed up at the gym I go to. I was there with my dad, and suddenly there was Lena walking straight toward us. My dad immediately stepped between us and told Lena she needed to leave. Lena started this whole speech about how she just wanted to talk to me and explain everything, and how everyone was misunderstanding the situation. She said she'd never meant to hurt me and that the whole thing had been blown out of proportion. But then she made a mistake. She said, "Noah, you know you liked our games. You know you got stronger because of me. Why are you letting other people convince you that I was bad for you?" My dad looked at her and said, "Did you just admit to intentionally subjecting him to things you called games to make him stronger?" Lena seemed to realize she'd said too much, because her whole demeanor changed. She got angry and started saying that my dad had turned me against her, and that I was too weak to think for myself. The gym staff had called the police when Lena first walked in. Apparently my dad had given them a heads up about the restraining order, and 2 officers arrived right as Lena was explaining how she was just trying to fix me. Long story short, Lena was arrested for violating the restraining order. At the hearing the following week, the judge made it permanent after listening to the recording the police had made of her comments at the gym. Also, the restraining order violation was a misdemeanor, and Lena was sentenced to community service and mandatory counseling. Since then, things have been quiet. Lena hasn't tried to contact me or anyone in my life. I don't know if she finally understands that what she did was wrong, or if she's just scared of legal consequences, but either way, I'm grateful for the peace. As for me, I'm doing a lot better. The heart palpitations I was having have mostly stopped now that I'm not constantly stressed and on edge. My doctor says that's normal. Chronic stress can absolutely trigger cardiac symptoms, especially in people with pre-existing conditions like mine. I found a new place across town, and I'm slowly starting to date again. I'm taking it really slow and being very upfront with people about what I will and won't tolerate in a relationship. Mr. Carter has become like a surrogate father to me through all this. He checks in on me regularly and has been helping me learn some basic self-defense. He says feeling capable of protecting yourself helps you feel more confident in the world. He's right. I feel more solid in my own skin than I have in years. My relationship with my dad has gotten so much stronger too. I was wrong about how he'd react to me being vulnerable with him. He's been nothing but supportive and protective, and I think our relationship is better now than it's ever been. Thank you again to everyone who commented on my posts and helped me see this situation clearly. I'm doing good now. Really good.